Welcome back.
This is Weeknights. We're your hosts, Dash and JD. He doesn't like when I introduce him, but I did. AKA
No,
Pods, AKA Rearview Mirror, but where is his mirror?
I took him off today. There's nothing to read. You know, AKA give him some skin. You know what I mean?
Apparently.
It's hot, man. I don't got central air in my apartment, and the AC that's closest has to be off for me to pod. So tankini today. You know what I'm saying?
Tankini. That's your new
I'm kidding.
AKA.
Nah, that's
That
crazy.
is your new AKA. Tankini. You got all the tats out.
Yo,
You
tankini is crazy.
you giving it to him.
It's just hot. That's all. It's 80 degrees in New York. I don't
80
want it to be
degrees.
80.
What did Drake say? Wearing less and going out more? That's you? That's
No, wearing less or going out more. But
you're definitely wearing less.
I'm wearing less. Okay, fine. But I ain't going out anymore
You
than
going out
usual
today?
to work. That's where I'm going
All right.
to work. I mean, you the one that look like you ready to tear up the town. You know what I mean?
Nah, I'm just light work. This light work,
Light work, holler, light work, like it's PWC. We shouldn't even be able to quote that song anymore. That's the take backs.
This is
Anyway, speaking of take backs, we never reviewed Spacey Unmasked, but we
going
did
on.
both watch it, and I think it's time.
Yep. So, as usual, I hate that we have to keep doing this, but trigger warning. If
Yes.
you are triggered by essay, you should probably not. You should probably skip forward. Assuming that we get to our other topics. I don't know if we will,
Right.
but
Who knows?
yeah, this is not quite the Diddy of it all, but this has its own problems.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did say about maybe it was a week ago now, or a little over a week, that we were both interested in watching Spacey Unmasked. It's a doc on Max about Kevin Spacey and about basically how his career was impacted and by his bad behavior, his predatory behavior. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you find out watching this doc, and you found out when he left House of Cards, you started to find out all of these things that he was known for doing out in the world. He was very inappropriate with a lot of men, it seems, and this documentary highlights some of those people and their stories.
Right. And what's interesting about it is they make sure to tell you when it starts that none of these people are from the trials.
Yeah.
So they make sure to explain to you that these are other people who have come forward. They make sure to point out that there are 10 people, 10 men who speak in this docu-series, because it's 2 episodes, and that none of them are from the trials. And then they go further to let us know that only one of the 10 has spoken publicly about their story before.
Mm-hmm.
The other 9, this is their first time coming forward and sharing their story on a public platform.
Right.
And so that they let you know that off rip, which is like, oh, okay, so there were a lot of people who were affected by this, who were victims, and have stories to tell. And I don't know how you want to do it. I know you want to break down every story, but it's interesting because it seems to me, well, we see a couple of things, right? We see obviously the 10 people, but we also meet his brother, right? The doc actually starts with his brother kind of speaking about the background of the family and stuff like that. And the first thing I want to say is those are some strong German jeans. Oh, they show Kevin Spacey's pops.
Yeah,
Yo, it looked
the
like
same
Kevin
face.
Spacey.
Yeah, same face.
Wow. I was
Just
like, that's
older.
he's a clone? What's going on here?
Yeah,
Look exactly like Kevin Spacey.
and he
Wow,
has
those
had that
jeans,
face since he was a kid.
right. And even in the family picture, it looked like you see Kevin Spacey on one end, Dad on the other, but that face is the same.
Same face. Yeah.
And I said, wow, those genes are strong. And so immediately we learn that Kevin Spacey's dad was, I don't know if I can say the word on
Nasty.
YouTube. I'm sorry?
Nasty.
No, that's not what I was going to say. We learned that later.
Oh,
I
sorry.
was talking about uh, the crew he was down with before he became an American.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, and I'll say it like this. Kevin Spacey's dad was down with Adolf, fill in the name.
Right.
And so that's one of the first things that we learn, Kevin Spacey's dad. And then the brother goes on to tell us that he was a victim of DV and SA via the dad. Actually, I jumped the gun. They don't say SA yet. That comes later on
Comes
in
later.
episode 2.
Right.
But he says his dad was a person who used his power in more than one way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't know how honest you want to be here, but when they show the brother, if you don't like what I'm gonna say, you tell me and I'll take it out. But they show the brother, and the brother has a very different look than Kevin Spacey.
Mm-hmm.
Where Kevin Spacey, we normally see him in either a suit or very, simple attire. The brother has very loud, boisterous attire. He's got this wild, spiky hair. He's got a very loud outfit, and I
Wears
said,
colors and he's very flashy. Even
and
his
I said,
glasses, he wears like gold glasses. It's like a whole look. It looks when he came on screen, it looked to me like a costume.
and
Which
he says that later on.
right, I knew you were gonna get to it, but it looked to me like a costume. Like he was kind of playing a role. Yeah, which we
And
will
at
get
that
into that
moment,
more.
when they showed the brother and his full outfit, I said, he's gonna say he was a victim of SA. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I think. And actually, later in episode 2, he says dad was doing a lot of things to him when he was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And he said for most of his teenage years, he was a victim of SA. And he told the dad at one point, you better never do anything to Kevin
Yeah.
because I'll end your life. He didn't use those words, but those are the words I'm going to use. That was wild. And that sent me down a long rabbit hole of thoughts. No pun intended. And I thought to myself, man, what else was going on in that home? Because the
Right.
brother alludes that he never saw dad do anything to Kevin and that Kevin was really close to mom.
And he
In
thought
fact, he says, go ahead. I know he's about to say it.
he thought that their mom would protect him. But the way he said it, I said this to you off pod, the way he said it made me feel, and maybe I'm wrong. There's no fact to this. But the way he said it made me feel like he thought he would be protected because him and his mom were so close, but he wasn't. But he
Yes.
never actually comes out and
And
says
says it. Right.
that. He just says he thought that's what would happen. So
Right.
it made me think that he was alluding to the fact that even she couldn't protect his brother. So I think, I don't want to put anything on anyone, no matter how creepy they may be. I don't want to put anything on anyone that isn't true. But I do think that there may have been some of that on his side as well, based on the way it was said. I think there's a possibility that it was happening to him also.
I'm going to go out on a ledge and say it's clear that Kevin Spacey was at some point a victim of SA. I don't know when. I cannot prove that it was his dad because we don't know when it was. Maybe it wasn't his dad, but it's pretty clear as the show goes on to me that Kevin Spacey was at some point a victim of SA. And I'll tell you why as we continue to talk about this docuseries. But I want to start right there for just a moment. If we could pause. I don't understand why they made this 2 episodes other than to milk it.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 1-hour episodes. You could have just did 2 hours. We were going to sit through the 2 hours anyway. It was pretty clear to me that ID/Discovery/Max/Warner Brothers was just trying to milk it.
Monetization. You
Yeah.
you can put more ads in two than you can in one.
Yeah. There was and I see the business side, but it was unnecessary. You could have just gave us the 2-hour doc. We'd have sat through it.
That's true. But yeah, they could have more break time if they divide it into 2.
Right. Yeah. It was a clear money play, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear to me when I saw only 2 episodes. At first I thought, is that it? Is there another one coming? Am I too early? Is it too soon?
Mm-hmm.
And it was not too soon. But
it's like when
this
you're
was
watching.
like,
Sorry.
oh, go.
I was gonna say, fun fact. It's like when you're watching regular television, not streaming, but you're watching regular television, and a show goes over by like 2 minutes or something like that. They went off the clock. And the only reason they did that, it's not because they made the show longer. Well, they did make the show longer. They made the ads longer. They made the ad space longer,
Right.
so they could fit more in. Yeah.
Cheater.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you sell more that way, so you made a little extra money when you
Right.
go off the clock. But yeah.
Yeah, so that was clear, and I got to be honest, that was whack to me. It was whack to me that they split it into 2 episodes because it was unnecessary to do so. But what about you? Where you want to go with it? I kind of said a lot already.
You did. Well, the one thing that you didn't say is that, so you said you knew that that's what he was going to say, the brother, but he explains why he dresses the way he does, and we find
Oh,
out that him and Kevin Spacey have, I don't remember the brother's name or else I would call him by his name, but the two of them have very similar ways of coping, if you will. So
yep.
he talks about the fact that he dresses the way he dresses because he is in his mind, he is putting on a costume. And if he puts on that costume, he can pretend to be someone else
Excuse
and
me. Yep.
not have to deal with the traumas of his life, or rather take a vacation from the traumas of his life.
His brother's name is Randy Fowler.
Randy. So, and then we see a clip from an old quick clip from Kevin Spacey where
Oh, fun
he's
fact.
what's up?
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The brother is a Rod Stewart impersonator.
Okay, I was going to say when I started talking about his clothing that he reminds me of Rod Stewart. So, okay, that makes sense.
So I thought I should, say that.
I was
Go ahead.
absolutely gonna say Rod Stewart's name, but then I was like, maybe I should just not. But
And
that is
and it
who
would
I
have been
think of
correct.
when I see him.
That's what popped up on Google.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart impersonator.
He absolutely looks like is completely decked out like Rod Stewart, so that makes sense. The
But I'm
hair,
sorry, back to you.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So we find out that Kevin Spacey talks about at some point does an interview or something like that where he talks about wearing masks and like when you're learning how to act, and they do like mask day where you put on a mask and you have
He
to
said that was his
act
favorite day
with,
in theater.
that was his favorite day. And he talks about how he could very easily be someone else and not have to think about, who he was and what was going on with him. He could, same thing. He could kind of take a vacation from. I saw
You
it.
saw that?
Yes, because I thought it was in here. And I was freaking because
I
it
tell y'all it was tropical in here. You see? All type of stuff. Just
right in front. Yeah,
butterfly
it
in
does
the
look like
sky.
it's dying.
Understand what's going on around here. Hopefully that's the last time we see it on camera.
Hopefully. Now I feel like you gotta leave in the part where I'm like, but
Nah,
anyway.
it's fine.
But
No
anyway.
worries.
So yeah, so he talks about the masks and how he thinks that
Yeah,
you
he
know,
said the reason it was his favorite day is because he learned when you put on a mask, you don't see yourself. You kind of see things through this whole other lens.
right.
And I'm paraphrasing, by the way.
And his brother also talks about just the acting in general, the fact that Kevin Spacey is an actor, and the fact that he can pretend to be other people. And he doesn't have to, like, he can live in this world where he kind of almost becomes his characters. And we see that,
Yeah.
jumping ahead, but we see that later on when he loses House of Cards. And I remember this too, because House of Cards was not that long ago. He loses House of Cards. All this stuff comes out about him and how he's done all of these gross things. And he makes this video where he pretends to be Frank Underwood, but it's almost like he fused Frank Underwood and Kevin Spacey together. So he's
Yep.
reacting to the public
He's
and his
reacting to the
Kevin Spacey
accusations.
situation,
Right.
but he's doing it with the persona of Frank Underwood, which is
Yeah.
so freaking creepy. They
It was
showed the
weird when
video.
it came out.
It was weird when it came out. I remember watching the news and being like, the fuck is wrong with him?
And one of the people who shared their story hit it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
He said he fused, damn, I wish I remembered the exact quote, but he basically said he fused acting and reality. And that, I wish I remember his exact quote, but he basically says, like, it's messed up. He says, like, it's fucked up and it warps people's sense of reality because it's like, what are you? Is this Frank Underwood?
Is
Is this
this
Kevin Spacey? What is really going on here?
And it was like he found a way to be Frank Underwood. That's what he was saying. It's like he found a way to be Frank Underwood, even though he was no longer Frank Underwood and he was no longer getting paid for it. It was
Yeah.
almost like he found himself a loophole by doing that, which
Yeah.
was just Frank Underwood is a
Gross.
creepy guy. And then Kevin Spacey is a creepy guy, which just made all of this really weird. And, if
Yes.
no one thought he needed help before that, I think that was like,
That was the bat
that
signal.
was the push over the edge. Like,
Yeah.
someone please help him. Um,
Yeah. And you're right. The brother makes it very clear. I like putting on costumes. I put on very specific, loud, different style things
mhm.
to create costumes because the costumes are my mask. The same way I see Kevin has masks.
Right, right.
So yes, you are correct because that's exactly what the brother said.
So, moving away from the brother
Family.
and the family and the home life, because we know that he didn't have a good home life from what his brother described. And, I think we can all understand that there are plenty of people who grow up in homes that are not safe. So that happened.
Right.
But now, adjacent to that,
We got 10 people who have come forward.
because now he's an adult and has to be held accountable for his actions, which we even got actually someone who went to high school with him and basically claims that his behavior was predatory even back in high school.
It was weird, even in high school.
Weird. Sure.
And I say that because, and maybe I'm remembering correctly, but Wasn't the guy he went to school with? They were both teenagers, and he just jerked off in front of him.
Yes, and I want to be clear when I say that was what they were trying to portray. I'm not saying that I agree with what they were trying to portray. I
Oh, I didn't
actually
think
think
that, but
I
continue.
actually think that this was the only part of the doc where I was like, I don't know if this story, if we took away everything else that happened after that, and we just knew that there was this person who did this weird shit to another student at school. I'm not saying that it somehow is better or erases what he did, but I think that when we're talking about teenagers and sexuality, I think that there is a lot of weirdness that happens. It doesn't make it okay. Doing something that makes someone else uncomfortable isn't okay, no matter
Right.
what age you're at. But I also think that there is
Leeway.
there's some level of unknowing, right? And of course, a teenager knows that they shouldn't put their hands on somebody that didn't invite them to. I think I think we're all solid on that. But I do think that things happen when you're a minor and you test the waters sometimes when you're a minor in ways that you probably shouldn't. Um, that in hindsight, a person could move on and live a normal life where they're not harassing people, and that story becomes a small cog in their journey, right?
Yeah.
That's not Kevin Spacey's story, obviously, but that's why I felt like I don't know what this was supposed to function as, because this person basically came on and said I believe he said he was openly gay when he was in high school. I don't think that Kevin was. And I just couldn't help but think about like all being an awkward teenager and like trying to see if someone likes you, or maybe putting your hand on somebody's shoulder. I'm not saying any of that is appropriate. Like, I
But
think
and that's why they used it, right? And so if
I don't want to say the wrong thing. I
no,
don't
no,
want
no, no,
anyone to
it's
feel
okay.
like I
I don't think you
think
said
that
anything
kids
wrong.
should touch each other or anything like that.
No,
I just,
I don't think it's coming across that way.
you know,
I think yeah, when you're a teenager, you're trying to figure some things out, right? You're trying to figure out what is okay, what's not okay, and maybe you don't have the adults that you can go to. And so, yeah, teenagers are going to get a little more grace cuz they're trying to figure certain things out, but it depends on what they do. And yeah, he masturbated in front of so many people. I can't remember, did he do it in front of this guy? But I do remember he said we were driving home and he reached over and tried to grab my groin,
yeah.
and I told him no. And he didn't say he made any more attempts. And I think he masturbated in front of him or tried to, and he's like, "Hey, stop!" And then he stopped. I can't
Yeah.
remember in full,
I think he
but
basically told him, if you ever do this again, I'll tell everybody that you did that.
right. And so he found them at a party a couple of days later and was like, "Hey, please don't tell anyone." And he said, "Okay," and he didn't until now. It's weird that the guy came forward now, but as far as the documentarian side of things,
Mhm.
I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to paint a picture of, yo, this dude been doing out of bounds
Yeah,
stuff.
I get what they were
This
trying to
guy,
do.
even as a young man, was doing things to other people.
Yeah,
That's what they were trying to do. I agree with you. I don't know if this was the best situation to show that, but I also think in the docu-series, by the time we got this one, it didn't matter
it didn't
because
matter.
we saw 9 other people or
Right.
8 other people because they put this guy towards the end on purpose.
And and the more I think about it, the more I process this while we're talking about it. One thing that I will say is, if you think about people who take other people's lives, um,
It
or
starts off very young.
it starts off very young. So maybe I did not reflect enough about this, because now that I'm thinking about it, when you're thinking about the psyche of a person who takes people's lives, that person will start off maybe as a teenager doing weird
Or
shit,
a small kid hurting animals. That's usually the
hurting
sign.
animals. They'll like they escalate. So they start off with something that seems fairly benign. I mean, messing around with animals, but maybe they don't necessarily kill an animal. Just trying not to say it.
It's okay.
Maybe they don't necessarily like do that to an animal, but they'll do something like, I don't know, kick one of them or whatever or something. It'll start off like something like that, and then they'll continue
Yeah, it'd be like, yo,
killing
why
until
JD
they
always kicks the dog? What's that about?
right. And then you find out like a year later that now the dog is no longer with us. And then so maybe this was that, you know.
That's what they were trying to do. Yeah, they were trying to say like, hey, this guy, even as a young man, was doing this type of foul stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, and that was like it was, in the grand scheme of things, that was just one thing,
Yeah,
like
I mean, it,
he so he had a pattern of behavior. I don't think we need to go through each and every story, but he had a pattern of behavior. Something that I know you want to talk about some specific ones, but I just want to like establish like what they were trying to establish. He certainly had a pattern of behavior. He's somebody who brushes up against people, grabs people. He tries to do things very subtly, or
oh, well, I thought he was about to talk about something totally different. That's why I was laughing. Go
um,
ahead. We
he,
we thought about different patterns. Go ahead. You're
he
talking about the physical pattern, like the
yeah.
grabbing and stuff. I was thinking about
Um,
the moves he puts on people up here.
oh
But
yeah.
we'll get
Well,
to it.
we'll get to that. But yeah, physically, that's what he does. Um, the men who
Yeah, he
spoke
likes
about
to
him,
grab men and he likes to masturbate in front of men.
right? And the men who spoke about him said whenever he was doing something like this, he wasn't like there. It was almost like he was lifeless. He was dead behind the eyes. So to me, that read very much like, and there was an aggression that they talked about that very much seemed like almost like he disconnected from feeling, and it's just like this act of power over these people who for the most part didn't really have much of a defense when he did this to them. But then yes, there was also, I'm smiling, but there was
Well, that's
also
why I laughed.
him
I thought that's what you was
manipulating
going to talk
people.
about.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to talk about the manipulation of it all.
he very much knew that he was in a position of power, and he was also in a position where he had access, and he would use his access to get people to hang out with him or be around him. He'd like tell them that they were going out somewhere, like, oh, we're going to
It's
I
always a
don't know,
party.
Sylvester Stallone's
Nah, it was always a
party.
party. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
always a
we're
party.
going Sylvester Stallone. I'm making up a name, but Sylvester Stallone
No,
is
but
having
that
a
was one of the
party.
people he said. He
Was
said
was he?
Sylvester
I can't even
Stallone.
remember.
Yeah, he said Sly. He said Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is the one I was trying to think of. But yeah, he would be like, "Oh, we're going to a party. Come meet me at my place." Meanwhile, he never intended on going to any party. He was
No
just trying to
party.
get you over to his place, which is so gross. And like,
And they was falling for it
they were
every
falling
time.
for it. Not only were they falling
So
for it.
so
Okay,
hype
this is
about the
where I'm getting.
celebrity that they could meet. Word, Sylvester Stallone. Word, Bruce Willis. Oh man, I can't wait.
Now, listen, I want to be clear about something before I say what I have to say. And I
Yeah,
think you and I share the same sentiment. There is never a time where this type of behavior is okay. There is never a time for you to be
no,
brushing up on people, touching people that don't want to be touched, masturbating in front of them. None of that. None of that is okay. We
right.
are clear on that. That is our stance on this.
Yes.
But there are some question marks in this doc that I want to address.
Dick sucking.
Well, I was going to go there first, but sure. Because there are people in this world who want fame so bad
Oh
who,
man.
who want the limelight so bad, who want the thing that they want so bad that they will completely throw everything they believe in out the window to get it. And that's what a couple of these people did. Like the one dude was like, okay, first he came at me and, clearly he was really trying to, get with it. And I
He said
said
he made it
no.
clear he wasn't interested,
He
right?
made it clear he wasn't interested. But the thing about Kevin Spacey is that he was very persistent. So these people would reject him and he would still call them up and be like, got another party to go to. And they would fall for it. And they would go they would still try to meet up with him. And this particular dude was like, honestly, when he called me the next time, I realized I was probably gonna have to suck his dick this time.
No, 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 no. Hold on. You're skipping an important part.
Okay,
The
sorry.
guy said he had already had the run-in with Kevin Spacey and was trying to avoid him, but then
Mm-hmm.
he was trying to shop around a script. And so he said, I had this script and I knew, man, I do know Kevin Spacey. And right now, Kevin Spacey is hot as fish grease. If anybody could get this shit popping, it's Kevin Spacey. This is like,
Got
he
popping
won
in
2
my mouth.
Oscars already. He is the man in Hollywood. And he said, I thought to myself, all right, well,
I'm gonna have to suck his dick.
that's what he said. Yo, it's the funniest shit ever. He said, I guess, he said, I thought, all right, well, fuck it. This is the way Hollywood works. I guess that's how it goes.
Well, I
I'm gonna
would
have to,
never be
I'm
in
gonna have to pay my
Hollywood.
dues. I'm gonna have to suck a little dick. My God, yo, I'm sorry. As serious as that doc was, when he said that shit, I was in tears. I said, yo, my man said,
That took me back to the fire festival when the dude was willing to do it for water. It really did. I don't know if y'all saw the fire festival doc. I don't even remember which one it was because there were two docs. But one of
oh,
the docs, the dude was in there. One of the organizers, he was in there, and Billy was like, "You might have to take one for the team," and he was ready to take one for the team to get people water, drinking water. I
yeah,
mean,
you need water at festivals.
and and then the man. Anyway, this is not about the fire festival, but I
Anyway,
I just remember the backlash because people were like, "What in the world?" And he was like, "I regret ever saying that." Yes, because you shouldn't have told us this. You shouldn't have
well,
told
not
us
only
this.
did dude in this doc tell us that he was willing to suck some dick to get his script moving up the chain, he told us he actually went and did it. He said he met Kevin Spacey. He said, he said he said I did, y'all. I tried to suck some dick. And it didn't last very long. He said it lasted like 2 seconds because I couldn't do it. He said in my mind I had convinced myself to do the deed. But I think he even said once it was in my mouth, I was like, oh fuck no.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm gonna say. Okay?
Wait. All right,
No,
go
no.
ahead,
Let me
because that's
say
not
it.
even the
Let me say it.
wildest part. Go ahead.
If you don't like putting dicks in your mouth, you're not going to. Okay? Not even for a movie deal. Like you're
And
not.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong. You think that's the first person who said I'm gonna suck some dick in Hollywood?
No, I'm not. Did you hear? I worded that very specifically.
And I hear what you're saying. And dude said he was a straight guy and he ain't never want to suck no dick, but he was willing to.
Right, but he only did it for 2 seconds, and that's the point that I'm trying to make.
And
You
I'm saying I don't agree. I think there are people who will allow acts to be done to them to further ahead in Hollywood and in other places.
and what I'm saying is they might be a little fluid. That's it. So anyway,
They gonna get you for that one.
well then get me. I don't understand. Like you either like it or you don't. He didn't like it. Cool. I understand that people do things that they don't want to do. And again, I don't want to completely make light of this because I think that what Kevin Spacey was doing was gross. Don't put yourself in a position, please.
Okay, well, let
because
me.
my not frustration, but my concern with this was that this was someone who was willing to do it for the thing he wanted, which was a little bit different from. So yes,
Everybody
he was harassed. That happened, but then after that,
he tried to take advantage of the situation.
he tried to take control, which is what one of the other guys was saying. He was like, "Well, I thought I could control this situation," and then realized he couldn't, because Kevin Spacey has no boundaries. So
Not only
he will
that, but
never
Kevin
be in
Spacey
control.
was right, and not only that, but Kevin Spacey was very smart. Even though everything he did was foul, he was smart about the way he went about it most of the time. Like he was in a dark theater, or you were at his house, or you guys were in a car. Like even the guy we're talking about, he said after I decided I couldn't suck no dick, we were still in the car riding around. He said somehow Kevin Spacey jerked off while driving, came and just kept driving around talking with cum all over himself and his clothes. So he was in these situations where he had the leverage. That's one. Two, not only did he have the leverage, but the MO really was three things, maybe four, right? Usually the situation was the same. You wanted him as a mentor, or he acted like he was going to help you at a network, right? Or what was the other situation a lot of times? Oh, the party, or you just was excited about the Hollywood party. Yeah, I feel like those were the three main situations uh in all of these, right? Most of these, it was one of those three. You wanted to go to the party, you wanted to use him to network, or you were looking for a mentor and it seemed like he wanted to be a mentor. I think there was only one situation. I think there was only one. Absolutely. I think there was only one situation, if I remember correctly, where he did not act like he wanted to be the person's mentor. The person just wanted him to be his mentor. But in most of the situations, that's how it was, except the person who was a boy working at the theater. The boy working at the theater, that one was just all the way left. But most of the time, that's what it was. So I would say take away the high school situation and take away the boy that was in the acting school, right? In the theater. But the other eight, and the dude from Central Park or whatever it was, the dude who he just came in his office and tried to kiss him on the desk or whatever. Okay, so that's three. But the other seven, most of them, it was those three situations.
Yeah, no,
So he was smart, he was manipulative, it was all foul, all fucked up. Let me be clear, but
right.
that's why I say he was smart about it because, excuse me, because he knew with these three things, I could get most of these dudes to be vulnerable, bring
Hmm.
their defenses down, and maybe even put them in situations where they might do what I want to do. So everything he did was foul, but the way he was doing it was smart. He was gaming them, he was manipulating them.
Oh yeah, he was completely taking advantage of them and preying on their desires to be famous and
Yeah.
to be successful in the movie industry. He definitely did. He definitely did that. So again, I don't want to make it seem like, um, it was anyone's fault. I guess the question that I had was like,
Why niggas keep going to parties?
yeah, like if I go to a party with someone,
Which he never did, actually.
or right, or if I well, I think the one he did go to a party. The one guy did go.
So the guy who said I gave him a big juicy kiss, mwah, and
No,
I
was it?
pushed his face away.
I don't think that was the one. It was the guy who went to the theater with him. The one who went to see Saving Private Ryan with him.
The first dude.
The first guy. The first guy had a very clearly unpleasant. He clearly stepped over the line with this guy,
Yo,
and
trying to have a sexual encounter with someone while people's bodies are exploding during Saving Private Ryan is it really shows how fucked up your mind is.
yeah. Yeah. But having that happen, and then him calling you and saying, "Hey, do you want to go to a party?"
Bruce Willis is going to be there.
That was just weird to me. I'm not
It is.
saying
It is weird, but
I'm not saying that
he
he
was
wasn't.
preying on the dude's desire to meet Bruce Willis, and even the dude said that. Which the dude said a couple things that I think we should not ignore. Number one was I really like that they put him first because he's the muscular build. He's an
Yeah.
ex-marine, and he said, a lot of times I hear stories all throughout my life of what you would have did in that situation,
Hmm.
and I'm here to tell y'all you wouldn't because you just freeze up
Yeah.
and you're in shock almost of like, what the hell is happening? And I thought that was really interesting. Um, that we heard this
Yeah.
from this person. They were smart. They knew what they were doing. They knew they put the muscular dude first, the manly man first, and made sure that you saw him be vulnerable. You saw his pain. You saw his shock. You saw his transparency, and that kind of set the tone for the doc.
Yeah.
Um, it was really, really, although this was hard to watch,
It was.
and we saw the manipulation, which we keep saying. I just want to say something important because we're almost out of time. You know, these men, it was very brave for them to come up there
Hmm.
on camera and share their story. Like I said when we reviewed the trailer, I appreciate them giving these men a platform to speak about these things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but one of the things I like the most about it is what dude said about freezing up. Because a lot of times when victim blaming comes,
Hmm.
it's what people say. Well, why didn't you do this? Or
Right.
why you didn't snuff him? Or why you didn't do this? Or why you didn't do that? And I appreciate the guy being transparent and saying, you just don't expect it and don't know what to do in that moment.
And being in a state of
Especially
shock
in
is
their
real.
situations where, what'd you say?
I said, and being in a state of shock is real, where you freeze and you don't know what to do next. That is a real traumatic response to a lot of different things that could happen to you. It's probably
And
one of the most common responses is to be in a state of shock.
especially in this power dynamic. Was he any of their bosses except the one kid from the theater? No. But he was someone in the same realm as them. He's someone in the same industry as them, and he is highly revered at this time
Yeah.
in that industry. So if you do snuff him, stab him, whatever bodily harm that your brain might even say to do in that moment, well, then you could lose your livelihood because
Of
a
course.
lot of these dudes were either just starting in the industry,
Mhm.
had small roles in the industry, etc. And so that's something that crosses your mind, even in that fight or flight moment of I got to do something to physically, defend myself.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how am I gonna snuff Kevin Spacey?
Right.
How am I gonna body slam Kevin Spacey? It's over for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went to a party because he said, man, he meant as soon as he mentioned Bruce Willis, I just thought, fuck, Die Hard. I gotta meet Bruce Willis.
I just, I just, I just want to encourage anybody who's watching this, or anybody who's listening to this. If it didn't feel right, don't go back.
Right.
Don't go back because it it's not to blame anyone, but it's just to say if something feels dangerous or if something feels scary or something doesn't feel right, something that's a position that someone is putting you in, then it probably isn't. Your instinct is probably spot on about
Right.
what's happening. And I get it. I get wanting something so bad that, you're willing to take the chance. You're willing to take a risk. I totally understand that. I may not have been in their shoes, and so I can't speak for them and what they were going through in their mind and what he was saying to them. I mean, we're getting these condensed versions of things that happened to these people. But in terms of like the conversations they were having or whatever, we don't get all of that. we're getting secondhand what happened. I'm sure he was really talking them up. I'm sure he was making it sound sexy, and not sexy in a sexual way, but making
Provocative.
it sound great, like something that was splashy and, something they would want. I
Don't
believe
don't
that. I
don't don't say slash.
All right.
All right, sorry. Sorry.
So
He made everything sound provocative, enticing. Yeah.
yeah, seductive, like, just, this is something you want, and I have it, or I have access to it, and I can get you in the door. I can, so I understand that, but I just encourage all of us, really, to follow your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. I think this happens too, like, with even with dating, because these were people that didn't want, like, they didn't want
Anything
him.
to do with them. Yeah.
They didn't want him. Like, they wanted something else. But you also find yourself in situations, especially like meeting people online or whatever. You might be like, "Oh, I went out with the person once. Something was weird, but give them another chance." I feel like people do that a lot, and your instinct is probably right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just trying to think of, like, ways to, and I've been there. I want to be clear. I have been that person who's been like,
They invited you to meet Bruce Willis.
no. But, like, I've been on a date where I felt like something was off about the guy, and I allowed myself to put it out of my mind and do another one when I
Gotcha.
probably shouldn't have. And then ended up in a position where, no, that sort of thing didn't happen, but other things happened where it was like, I shouldn't have been here. And again, this is not to blame anyone, and I hope it's not coming across that way.
Yes.
It's just something that we all have to think about. We all have to be mindful of our surroundings. We all have to, consider that everybody doesn't have our best interest at heart. So it's just a thing that, unfortunately, whether you're a man or a woman, you have to think about when you move about the world, because you're assuming that this person who has so much is so willing to give to you, when really all he wants to do is take advantage of you, and that's what he did to all of these people. And it's terrifying when you think about, like, the shit he was doing.
Yeah, I feel so bad for the little boy at the theater specifically. It was all of it was foul. All of it was fucked up. To me, the aggression in every instance is what points back to him being a victim of SA. Clearly, he has something off, and it's clear to me that this is a hurt people situation. And he should have sought help a long time ago. I think at this point it's past that. But
Yeah,
that aggression is why I say, to me it's very clear that he was a victim of SA, because that points back to it. It's hard to explain why without giving details that will get flagged on these platforms. The way that he was aggressive in every instance, the way that even when people are saying no, or people are saying like I'm not interested, he's still trying to like pull his thing out and masturbate even anyway, even though they said no, or
hmm
even though they made it clear I'm not interested. The way that he has to like physically dominate people, in a lot of these instances, all of that to me points back to the fact that he was a victim of SA, and that he is like in that mind state of like it has to be aggressive almost. You know what I'm saying?
He's
So
maniacal, the way they were describing him, the way
yeah,
that they were describing the way he looked at them, and it wasn't even, you couldn't even there wasn't any confusion. Like, it wasn't even like, I like you.
no,
It was
no,
all just aggression,
yeah,
and it wasn't really even about it wasn't really even about these people being a part of the act.
no,
In most instances, they really weren't. He was doing something to them or near them it was all about him, like, centering his own aggression. It had nothing to do with I I don't I think he's a disgusting human.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I know he beat all his trials, but I wouldn't be surprised if some type of federal investigation goes on. You
Well,
know,
I thought he was only
because
tried
it's
in
still.
Europe. Was he tried in the US?
I don't remember. I believe there was one here and one in the UK.
Okay.
One here and one in Europe, if I remember correctly. But I was gonna say, because we know this is something that has been going on for a long time. Because even as recent as House of Cards, things were happening to people on set. There were multiple people on the set of House of Cards who he were victims of SA because of him. So we know this is something that's been going on for a long time. And so clearly I wouldn't be surprised if there was some type of investigation still going on, or if this reignited that flame of some kind of federal investigation. But it's sad because it's sad on a lot of levels. It's sad to see that you did this to so many people. It's fucked up to see that you did this to so many people. It's also really, really crazy to see that, again, here's this super talented person with this really dark side, you know? And so I'm not gonna say we didn't know, because yeah, clearly we know about the trials and stuff, and him being kicked out of the set of, or the show of, House of Cards. But when you see everything under a magnifying glass like this did,
Yeah.
it's like, wow. So you really just don't. You really just have no cares. You have no thoughts about, just no concern for anybody else but yourself. So this was a good docuseries. I don't know what I would rate it 1 through 10, but it was good. Hard to watch, but they did a good job putting it together. Um, and my heart goes out to all of those men and all of the people who have been victims. We hope you find the healing you need, and hopefully they get this guy. I mean, it's good that he's no longer really acting or anything, but you know, I hope that this never happens again, because the way he was going, it don't seem like he was trying to stop anytime soon.
My gosh, it's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. It just sucks. It just sucks. And you know what? Everybody? I'm gonna make a promise right here and right now. We're gonna have fun tomorrow.
Oh, I'm about to say, what kind of promise you about to make? Fun
We're gonna,
tomorrow? All right, yeah.
we're
Wild
gonna
Out
have fun
Wednesday.
tomorrow. We're gonna pull out some fun topics. We need we need a break from the serious one. All right, this has been Weeknights, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.